Hi, I'm Dave. Welcome to Dave Takes It On, Enters the Dragon. Today you find me in South Wales, heading eastwards. Okay. So technically, I'm already in South Wales, so it's not so much enter the dragon as more like exit the dragon. Oh, anyway, for EV drivers in South Wales, what delights have you in store besides the immediately obvious ones? Most of the motorways are speed limited to 50 mile an hour to improve the air quality, and side roads are now 20 mile an hour blanket speed limit. Oh, different then. Now, to do this journey properly, I should head straight west towards Carmarthen because I'm currently in Swansea. However, that's totally the wrong direction, so let me just give you an overview of what's in Carmarthen. There's a Tesla Supercharger there, open to non-Teslas. It's open to all vehicles. They have 12 stalls, 250 kilowatts each, so these are the V3 chargers, and the current price for a Tesla is 47 pence peak and 38p off peak. For a non-Tesla, that's 62 pence peak and 55 pence off peak. That's with no membership. You don't have to pay, you don't have to do anything. You do need an app, it's a free app, but you don't need to make any payments other than through the app. So you don't need to be a member. So for non-members, 62 pence per kilowatt hour. Okay, well, starting from Swansea, I have a short drive out to Penllygr. This is on the M4 at junction 47. It's a Moto Services, and there you will find 12 superchargers. These are the V3 superchargers, 250 kilowatts, and these are CCS2. Directly opposite these are 6 GridServe 350 kilowatt chargers. 4 of those are CCS2 only, 2 of them are CCS2 and Chademo. And just a little bit further up the car park, they've left the old chargers in there. These are 40, one's 40 to 50 kilowatt. These are shared bay. So there's another 2 cables on each of those. So you've got a total of 6 chargers, which are what they call the medium speed one. You've got 6, which are the ultra rapid ones. And you've also got 2 type 2 chargers. These are 11 kilowatts. And this is because right next door is a Travelodge hotel. So if you're staying here overnight, you don't want to be plugging your car into one of the ultra rapid chargers because you're only going to have to come out and remove it. You can plug it into the 11 kilowatt charger and you can charge it more slowly overnight. At Swansea, the normal services are available, although it is a little bit different. When you come in, this one you don't enter it from the motorway. Now, traditionally, we've always driven along the motorway. There's a slip road up to the services. You go into the services and you can't leave the services other than through the slip road and back onto the motorway. That means that for each motorway, you need 2 services. One's north or southbound, or one's east or westbound. So you have 2 separate services, different sides of the motorway. There is a trend these days to have just 1 services and put them just off to one side of the motorway, north or south, east or west, so that whichever direction you're travelling, you simply drive off the slip road and you'll come to a roundabout, and this will normally be over the motorway, and then you'll see the signs for the services, and you can approach the services from either side. So whether, in this case, we're coming from the east or the west, you come off to exactly the same services. One other big advantage is that because there's a roundabout over the motorway, and this connects into the main A roads and B roads nearby, it means that anyone from Swansea or Gorseinon or Llanelli or wherever you're living can actually get to this one without travelling on the motorway. Because so many of the motorway services with EV chargers, you have to get on at one junction, drive up the motorway for several miles, come off the motorway into the services, charge your car, go carry on out of the services onto the motorway again, up to the next junction several miles, and then come all the way back. The beauty of these, Rugby is another example, is that you can just approach them from any direction. The difference here, though, as you turn off the roundabout over the motorway, the first thing you'll see is a McDonald's. This is unusual because the McDonald's is not part of the services. It is set aside. It is a drive-through McDonald's and seated area, obviously. And you have to drive past that and you go through a little bit of a windy road. You can't immediately see the services, but they're just there, and you'll suddenly pop round a hedge and they're the main services. And of course, the main services, they operate the monopoly for the shops in there. And this one happens to be a Burger King. And this is one of the only services I know where you'll get both a McDonald's and a Burger King at a motorway services. They normally operate a very strict monopoly. Here, because they're separated, it's not so serious. So charging here, if you're CCS2, it's very straightforward. For Tesla, go to the Tesla chargers. For non-Teslas, go to the GridServe. This is a Tesla dedicated supercharger, but the GridServe is straight opposite. And the GridServe, in fact, are much faster. These are 350 kilowatt chargers. However, the downside is, whereas the Tesla drivers will be paying something in the region of 38 pence off peak and 48 pence peak, the GridServe will be 79 pence per kilowatt hour, 24 hours a day, winter and summer. So they are dearer, but there's a good array of chargers here. So if this is part of your stopover, if you want to stay here for a night while you're travelling west or east or north, then you'll find there's good charging facility for whatever car you drive, reasonable facilities, and also a travel lodge for you. So handy for the motorway. It's only a few hundred yards off the motorway, and this really is a nice central location. Now, coming away from Swansea on the M4 heading east, it's 50 mile an hour virtually all the way these days. But the first services you'll come to are at Bridgend, a place called Sarn, S-A-R-N, and this is at junction 36. This is another one. These services aren't directly on the motorway, and it's an unusual one because it's a designer shopping centre. So as you're coming from the west towards the east, you'll find that as you come off the slip road to the roundabout over the motorway, on the right-hand side is the designer village. That's got all the shops, the boutiques, the cafes, restaurants, cinemas, food, everything you want over there. Whereas you turn left, back on yourself for the motorway services. So when you wind your way through the motorway services, you can see the motorway just over the hedge. So it's no distance, but they are separated. Now at Sarn, once again, this is a dedicated Tesla supercharger. These are not open to non-Teslas. So let me cover these first. There are 8 chargers here, and they're all 150 kilowatt chargers. That makes these the V2s, which have the Tesla proprietary Type 2 type socket, type plug, and the CCS2 type plug. This is one of the older ones, and this is where I can charge my car, my Model S, which is an older one, without needing an adapter. Now the current price when we're looking at Sarn, the peak rate is 52 pence and the off-peak rate is 40 pence. So if you go here off-peak, you're round about half the price of a GridServe charger. So that's great for Tesla drivers, but what about non-Tesla? Well, for a long time there was only one charger here, which was a GridServe, and it's a 40 kilowatt. It's a dual bay. Oh, how you can share 40 kilowatts, I'll never know. But that's still in existence. So that's a GridServe one, so currently 79 pence. Probably the slowest charger you're ever going to come across. However, it is CCS2, it is CHAdeMO, so if you want this one, it is here. And the reason to say if you want this is because right next door to it, Apple Green have come along. Now, I don't see that many Apple Green, or I haven't previously, but nowadays they seem to be popping up everywhere. So here they have 6 chargers, the ABB chargers, and they're all 175 kilowatts. So these are quite powerful chargers. And the amazing thing is, these are exactly the same price, 79 pence, that the GridServe 40 kilowatt charger is. So if you're going to be paying 79 pence, you may as well get yourself a fast charge. unless you're planning on stopping here for a long while. Well, they do advertise on the charger that it is 79 pence, but they also advertise it is £40 for pre-authorisation of credit and debit cards. So be aware of that. However, from my experience, and I've only used one of these, the pre-authorisation releases just about immediately. Well, from Sarn, we again head east, and it's only a hop and a skip again, about another 20 or 30 mile, and we get to Cardiff. Now, the Cardiff Supercharger is not actually on the motorway or near the motorway. It's about 3 miles off the motorway. So you have to come off on a junction, go through some windy roads, and then you'll come down, and it's a Tesla service centre. You'll find here there are 8 superchargers. They're all 250 kilowatts, makes them the V3s, open 24 hours a day, and they are CCS only. Now, this one is open to non-Teslas. So for non-Teslas, the peak rate here is 62 pence, and the off-peak rate is 54 pence. As a Tesla driver, or as a Tesla member, if you pay your £10.99 a month, that 62 pence drops down to 47, and the 54 pence drops down to 35 pence. So there's quite a considerable saving there. Now, I did call in here, but I was most unimpressed. There's nothing around. There is the Tesla Centre, which, if it's open, it's open. However, it seems to be more in a residential area and on the edge of a commercial area. There's no shops, there's no cafes, there's no fast food places. It is a bit stuck out of the way. So I did come here. I didn't even bother plugging in. I just turned around and charged. I do not like sitting and waiting in my car while it charges. I am more than happy to go and have a meal and charge the car while I'm having a meal, but I refuse to sit in my car and wait for it to charge. Just me. So I turned round from this one, and the first place after that, before I leave the M4 and before we reach the end of the motorway services, you come to Newport. And this is the turn-off for me, because this is on the junction of the A449, which leads into the A40, and the M4. So this is where you can cut across country. It is possible to keep on going on the M4, cross over the Severn Bridge, and then join the M5 at Bristol, and then head up, but it is about another 40 or 50 mile. If you cut across country from Newport up the A449 through the A40, you'll eventually come to Monmouth, Ross-on-Wye, and then you join the M5 anyhow. Cuts out about 40 mile. So because that was the route I was going, I came off the M4 at this junction, and it's a very strange one. First of all, it's in the grounds of this fantastic hotel. This is the Celtic Manor Hotel. And some of you sports fans may well realise that this is where they have the Golf Open. So the first thing is it's set up on a hill, absolutely imposing structure, gorgeously designed in my opinion. And as you drive up to it, you've got about a half-mile drive through the grounds, in between the golfing tees and the holes. It's very tastefully done, and it eventually brings you out. If you follow the signs, you need to keep over to the left, and that will bring you into the car park. Now, the car park, you go through, there's a barrier, it will raise its number plate recognition, but there is a 2-hour free parking. So if all you're doing is charging or stopping for a short while, then it's free. If you're stopping for a round of golf, very few people get a round of golf done in 2 hours. I used to, because I used to lose so many balls, I had to finish early. But anyhow, if you're staying for longer, there is a car parking fee. Or if you're staying in the hotel, then there's free parking for guests. Now, the very unusual thing you'll see in the car park here is a long row of Type 2 chargers. These will be 7 or 11 kilowatt chargers, and these are absolutely free to hotel guests. So any car can make use of these. So if you're staying in the hotel, Then while you're sleeping, your car can be plugged in, your Hyundai, your Nissan Leaf, your Renault Zoe, your Kia EV6, whatever car you've got, they all have Type 2. So you can leave your car charging overnight free of charge and then set off in the morning with a full charge. Now, I say free of charge, obviously the catch is you have to stay here. And with rooms heading out round about £350 for a night, this is probably not in the same league as the sort of travel lodge that I often use. It is a superb place. However, they do have bargains from time to time, and I very nearly did one. And that was about 6 or 8 months ago. They had an offer on, and it was £100 bed and breakfast, free car charging overnight. And I thought that was fantastic, but unfortunately, it didn't fit in with my timing plans. I couldn't go on the dates the offer was on, and on the days I could go, it was £350. So we never did one of these stops, but I will do it one day. It is a superb place. And on this occasion, I was going to charge here because the run home from here is about 220, 230 mile. So in the winter, that's getting on towards the limit of my car. So I want a nice charge here, only up to about 90, 95%. I'm not going to go to 100%, just don't need it. So we plugged it in. I didn't need an awful lot because I had filled up earlier in Swansea. So this was only going to be a 20-minute or a half-hour stop. However, I've never been in the hotel here. So as chargers, we can have access to the hotel. And as you walk through the hedge, you walk across the car park. You can't see the hotel at first. You can't see it from the car park. But as you walk across the car park, you'll see a sign, hotel reception this way. And you go along a little windy path through a hedge. And you come out onto this absolutely magnificent view of the hotel. It is stunning. It really is. And then the walk down, obviously being a golf course, all the greens, all the lawns are immaculate. So you walk down. They'd started the Christmas decorations outside with some deer, which were illuminated. But the entrance hall, it's you've got a massive rotary door. Is that what they call them? Rotary. And a couple of double doors as well. It's huge with your footman outside for if you need any help. And the second you walk in, you realise this is about a 6-storey hotel. And from the foyer, you can look right the way up the full 6 stories. It is magnificent because on the day I arrived, all the Christmas decorations were up. It was a magnificent sight. Immediately in front of me, this beautiful model railway. I don't know if it's there all the rest of the year, but it was certainly there when I called in. One of the things that will strike you is that it's a bit posh if you're just travelling in casual clothes. However, they do have a casual restaurant. It's just across the foyer, down some steps. Very posh still, but it is meant for people who don't dress up for lunch or dinner. But the one thing that you really notice is that most of the people wandering around are in dressing gowns. And that's because this is also a health spa. Suppose if you're paying £350 a night, you want a few treatments, although I would suspect they're probably extra. Anyway, about half the people wandering around in dressing gowns. But we weren't going to stop in the hotel. We wanted to go down because it was only going to be about 15, 20-minute charge. We'd use about 10 minutes getting down here, have a quick look around. So we were just going to grab a sandwich and a soup and head back to the car for the last few minutes of the charge. And it's amazing. Again, homemade soup. This is not unusual in a restaurant. They do the thermal cups with the lids. But with this, you get a spoon. And we realised you get some fresh baked bread. And this is baked on the premises. And in our case, it was sourdough bread. So you get a nice little recyclable tray with some bread, some Welsh butter, and a knife and a spoon. It's just attention to detail. And the price was very little dearer than if you went to something like a Starbucks or a Costa. They also had some sandwiches, and these were not the run-of-the-mill stuff that you see in the garage service stations. These appeared to be handmade again, and they had some quite interesting flavours. Again, not a silly price. So we grabbed our sandwich and soup, and we had a gentle stroll back up the hill, taking a few photographs on the way. And by the time we got back, the car was only about 6 or 7 minutes from being charged. So sat and drank our soup, ate our bread, had the sandwiches, and by then it said you're safe to carry on your journey. Didn't actually look at the percentage, but it works it out for me, so it tells me what I need to get home. So it said at this point, you can get home in one go. So that was it. So we tidied up. Couldn't put out rubbish anywhere. There were no rubbish bins around. Noticeable lack. Anyway, so we put that in the boot and we set off again. And from there, it's a straight run back. It's up the A40, A449 first, and then the A40, and you go up through Monmouth, up through Ross-on-Wye. You pick up the M50 just past Ross-on-Wye, and then that takes you through to just north of Tewkesbury, where you join the M5. From there, it's up through Worcester, Birmingham, join the M6, and then straight up through Stoke-on-Trent and up to Preston, which is where I am. If your car can't quite do that distance, then there are many stops along the way. So from Newport, it's a fair old run through to the M5, and there's very little on the way that's worth stopping for. But once you get up to Birmingham, you've got a massive choice. And one of the ones I often stop at is Hilton North, Hilton Park northbound. If you go a little bit further, you'll find Stoke-on-Trent. And here you've got two. You've got Kiel Services on the motorway, and that is junction 15 on the motorway. Or you've got Trentham Gardens. Now, Trentham Gardens is about 2.5 miles off the motorway. But there is a difference in price. The Trentham Garden charges are cheaper and the facilities are much nicer. The background, the surroundings are nicer. Anyhow, off from there, you've got a charger up at Warrington on the way, and by then you're home. So that was my journey through Wales. We've got the chargers at Carmarthen, we've got Swansea, Sarn, and Cardiff, and then Newport. So it's a nice run. East from Newport, that's the end of the M4 once you go over the bridge, so there's no other services there. So thanks very much for watching. If you have enjoyed it, please click the like button. If you would like to see more in the series, please subscribe and click the notification bell so we can notify you when we launch the next one. And for those who would like to, have a look at our Patreon page and see if you'd like to support us as a Patreon member. Thanks very much. I'm Dave.